Here's Flanders' Friend, Chapter 5, entitled Woods. As soon as he entered, he felt better, and the overhanging trees made him feel safe and secure. He stepped carefully over rubbish bags and an old fat felled tree. A cat shut out in front of him and made him drop his books, and he bent down to pick them up, and as he did so, he thought he saw a figure behind the trees. Tim walked over, hesitating. The last thing he wanted was to face another bully or an escaped convict. His imagination was now going into overdrive. The man in the bushes was a lot older, with short cropped grey hair, and he was dressed in army clothing which looked quite old and tatty. This struck Tim as a little odd. Maybe he's a tramp, he thought, and he hoped the man was harmless. Hello, he said to the man, scattering a few crows in the process. The man was still half behind the trees, and he looked scared, and his face was ashen. Just as Tim got closer, he could make out a large bruise on the man's forehead. He must have fallen, thought Tim, concerned. The man stepped out to greet him. Hi there, he said softly as he stood with his cap in his hand. He seemed a little nervous as Tim reached out to shake his hand. The man's hands were frozen cold. What's your name? Asked Tim a little too earnestly. The man shuffled as if reluctant, and then he responded. Arthur, he said, raising his voice. I'm on my way to school, said Tim, with false enthusiasm. He didn't want to give a poor first impression. What are you doing? He asked the man somewhat rudely. Just hanging around, said Arthur. I like to spend time in the woods, he said mysteriously. Me too, said Tim enthusiastically. It's the only place I get left alone, said Arthur. Tim felt that he was chatting with himself. Ditto, said Tim. What does that word mean? Said Arthur, scratching his thinning hair. Oh, I heard it on TV, said Tim. Can't stand TV, said Arthur. I'd rather watch the birds and the squirrels. And Tim could see his point. Maybe we could meet later, asked Tim. He needed something to get him through the day, and he was willing to take a chance. After all, he had good vibes about me and Arthur. He could tell he was harmless but cranky. Yes, he would meet later. We could meet later, said Arthur. He needed a conversation, he thought. He could only get so far chatting to the birds. Arthur smiled, revealing his gravestone-like teeth. His teeth need a good clean, thought Tim, but he knew that it would be rude to mention it.